good evening, good evening, good evening. Who assembles better than Voltron, but not quite as good as the Avengers? It's us, the three technophobic lads from the Thursday Night Podcast, American Scouser TV, also known as ASTV for the cool kids. We're joined as usual by Brian and Trevor. Brian, how are you? It seems I cut you off just before we went to the team tune there.
Oh, doing stupendous.
Trevor, how are you doing this week?
I'm embracing my full Luigi mode. I'm doing all right.
That's good. That's good. So the show tonight, three simple things to talk about for us. We have the Champions League draw. And we know what our games are. We just don't know when they're being played, but we'll have a talk about that whole new system and what it looks like now. Transfer business, we've signed a goalkeeper and we've signed an Italian player. We'll have a discussion about that and whether the Italian player is Aquilani Mark II. And then we'll talk about the game for the weekend, which is against Manchester United, of course. But we'll start off with the draw. We have it here, I believe, unless I got the wrong graphic. We've got Real Madrid again. They're our Champions League bogey team now after Chelsea were for so long, and City. Leipzig, Leverkusen, we get to see Alonso again, and who knows how they're going to be this season after the miracle of last season. Milan, always a nice little reunion with them. Lille, PSV, Bologna, and Girona. But basically just set up camp in Italy, really, shouldn't we, Brian? I had all my doubts about the new Champions League format. I liked the group stages. I liked having the home and away games, but I have to admit it's a bit exciting seeing who we have to play coming up for this. What do you think of it?
Oh, absolutely. I mean, okay, you got Pep. We get to see Pep Linders. We actually go to visit Pep Linders again. I mean, we have Xavi coming here. I mean, it's all. What can you be more excited about? And get to play. I mean, it's a good format. I mean, there's some good, pretty decent ties in there. I think the Lille tie is going to be a good tie. We always play really good matches with them. I mean, of course, I'm wearing my 2005 Champions League final, so playing Milan again right there. Those are just all. I'm excited about this right there. I mean, at first I was a little confused about how they got the away and the home and away legs and all that. But I guess once it juggles out and we kind of figure it out, it'll be fine. The only other thing right there that's kind of confusing right there is how the number one seeds get jumped automatically to the sixth round of 16, and then everybody else who's in second place basically has to play each other out to go into the next round. And so that's the only confusing part I have right there with it. But hey, bring on the new.
Trevor, it wouldn't be UEFA if they didn't confuse everybody, probably even themselves. But how do you feel about this? I mean, there's a lot of ties there that are, if you're Liverpool media, there's a lot of tasty ones there. You can see the TV buyouts, to use modern phraseology. You could see it right there. Everybody wants to watch Liverpool and Madrid again. Everybody wants to see Pep and meet Liverpool in his own right as a manager. We've got Alonso coming back. Milan, obviously, we talked about. PSV will be something for Slot as well. And did Virgil play for PSV?
No.
Who did he play for again?
It was a small Dutch team. I forgot who they are. It's because before he went to Celtic, I can't remember who it was.
Who cares? Huh?
Yeah. Before he went to Celtic, I'd have to go look it up. But
yeah, I have to look that one up. But at least Arne Slot knows them well. So Bologna and Girona. I think Girona were one of those fashionable teams a couple of years ago. But these are tasty games, Trevor, aren't they? I mean, it's going to take a little bit of time to get used to not having an away leg or not having a home leg for these games. But to progress to the next round, outside of Real Madrid, you kind of fancy your chances, wouldn't you?
And just to close the loop, it was Groningen. So,
yes,
the old Luis Suarez special with Virgil. Yeah, and I don't want to face Real Madrid. I'm kind of sick of that. I don't like losing over and over. And that sounds like a pessimist. That sounds like a person that is just resigned to failure. But yeah, you can only get beat enough times to realize like I don't need this anymore. But either way, there's a great thing with Girona being let in. So facing City's B team is going to be fantastic. The Lille PSV thing is PSV the team that has all the Americans. So Richard Hutchinson can get everything that he wants. He can see all the Americans play for PSV, so you can get the best of both worlds. The games other Milan. There's that history there. There's a lot going on. Like Leverkusen, you got the Xabi derby. It is something where I enjoyed having that 3 home, 3 away, and you kind of just plan your things around that. And I understand what UEFA's like. Oh, we want all the games to matter. We don't want it to be on the 5th match day and a team has 12 points and nobody cares about it anymore. Well, that's what the second place thing was for. You had so much there, but oh no, we can't have second place be something that people are striving for. It's like Brian said, embrace the new. I'm here for it. We'll see how it goes. Just can we get like Real Madrid out of the way first? Can just send us to the Bernabeu, get it over with, rip the Band-Aid off. I don't want that to be like the last match day, and there's a thing where we're teetering on being that last qualifier to not have to play in the playoff. And then Real Madrid, who has 7 people injured, magically have all of them healthy to play us like it happens every time. It's like, oh man, there was 9 people injured against Mallorca. Oh my God, they've gone into and they found the special tonic of healing, and they will all be available to face Liverpool. Nah, I want get rid of it early. I want to face Real Madrid first, and then traverse the other 7 games from there.
Brian, it looks like, from what I saw from the other teams, I don't have the graphics for the other teams because we're not a Manchester City or an Arsenal podcast, so we don't care. But there's a lot of crossover games, so a lot of teams that we would be thinking about for the next round as potential rivals are playing some of the teams we're playing as well. So it's almost, and correct me if I'm wrong, because my interpretation of this American phenomenon is sketchy at best, but it almost seems like a strength of schedule kind of cross-conference thing that you'd see in American sports, isn't it?
Yeah, kind of. I mean, it's like, I think the only thing you're missing right there is is like your ultimate rivals that you would play right there. I mean, if you're going to open it up like this, you might as well go out there and throw in the countries mixed to play each other also. I mean, because this is supposedly the whole rivalry of the breakaway league, Super League. So let's just open it all up. I mean, instead of doing this whole like restrictions that you have right there, let's just go put everybody into a pot and go there and draw everybody against everybody. Let's go full Super League right there. Then I mean, don't just go Super League light, which is what we're kind of at right now. So I mean, we're still doing these little protections and all that, but I think it's good. I mean, again, I don't want to face Real Madrid again either. I'm kind of tired of that show. You know, I think we've been there, done that quite a few times. But it's like you look at some of the rivals. I mean, Bayern Munich's draw was pretty bad. I mean, on there. I mean, so they got a tough draw. Arsenal have kind of a tough draw. I mean, so, but I guess if you just gotta go there and go at it and to win every single match to the end, and just not and just say, hey, guess what? I can't just go and slow down because I've got my points, so I'm good to go. But so you just have to win everything. You have to go win all out, not knowing what everybody else is going to do at the same time. So it's like the Ultimate Warrior, basically, almost in a way that you have to play this whole thing, just like what Trevor said. But yeah. So I mean, again, right there, I'm just going to go and see what this first season's like. But if the cash flow doesn't come the right way, you bet this shit ain't going to happen much longer. I mean, this is buying time.
It's not often we have a whole league format compared to one of the stars of 1990s professional wrestling, but there we have it. That's what we get on American Scouts of TV.
Spaceship with a rocket fuel.
And there's plenty of distrucity to be spread around here on this podcast. Before we go any further, big hello to Nick, Herme, and Alan and Red Vision who liked and sub. Thank you so much for that. And Alan, of course, our regular. We don't have the plant. We do have the you'll never. Oh, we do have the plant, just barely in there. There we go. There you go. Just for Alan, we do these things for our regular viewers because we're nice like that. But Trevor, I would look at that group, and I don't think I would be afraid of Real Madrid on the simple fact that now they have to deal with a different manager with a different style, whereas they were kind of used to Klopp and everything. Like, there's nothing obvious about or secret about Klopp's tactics. They worked because they were good and because we had the players to make them work. But Arne Slot is a new wrinkle in the tactical planning for other teams. Are you confident that we'll be up there, at least in the top two spots, if not winning the outright thing, given that we don't have a home and away leg against Real Madrid? I believe, are they an away game for us?
They haven't announced what they
have they not?
At least from what I've seen. If it has come out afterwards, then
I think they're home. They're a home leg for us.
Oh, okay. Well, I think if far home and far away with the teams that are in it, Trevor, there's nothing that even with a new manager, with the squad we have, we should be aiming to finish top of our particular group, whichever way that works out.
Yeah, and it's not a fear of Real Madrid because it's something where I think there isn't something as a Liverpool fan where you're really fearing any team. I don't go into games with fear. I go into games with trepidation and annoyance more than anything. And with Real Madrid in the Champions League, it goes in with annoyance because I'm sick of losing to Real Madrid in the Champions League. Because it's a competition that they have just built their team, or matter whether there's no rhyme or reason to it, or they're going Galacticos, they're going youth movement, they're going a mix of both. They're going, we got 7 random letters in the boggle thing that popped up, and then we're just picking players out of a fucking hat. When it comes to the Champions League, they figure it out. And I don't want to play them in the Champions League. It's just not a thing that I particularly enjoy as a fan. If it comes to the point where, they come to Anfield and we beat them, and then they end up going and winning this pod or whatever conglomeration they want to call this thing, that's gonna suck even more because there's just so much gravitas with facing Real Madrid in this competition, and I'm over it. I want to put it off as long as I can. As a serial procrastinator, I push this off to my fandom. There's a lot of people that goes like, I just want to beat everybody. I want there to be no doubt. No, I want there to be plenty of doubt. I want to face the worst team at every stage of everything. When my teams are in the playoffs in American sports, I am hoping for upsets on every single stage. I want teams to be injured. I want there to be calamities. I want buses to break down. I don't care how it ends up at the trophy. And Real Madrid in the Champions League, that just doesn't happen. So, it's going to be fun to see how those things break down with the other 7 teams. But that's a fixture that even at home, I'm not looking forward to it that much.
Nick has been very kind to us. Madrid at home, Leipzig away, Leverkusen at home, Milan away, and then Bologna at home, the rest away. The gin was a bit too powerful there, boys. Sorry. Here's my question, Brian. Outside of the big teams that are there, do you see any banana skins? I'm thinking Girona, but do you see any banana skins there at all?
Well, I mean, Girona, the way they played the last season, right there in the Serie A, right there, they hit above their weight. So, I mean, I can say with them right there, I really think that Leverkusen right there because they can't fucking lose. I mean, it's like they find ways to win. It's like and it's like even opening the Bundesliga last week right there, they were able to scrape through at the last minute and came with there and actually won the match right there when they were down. Like almost like I think to like the 84th minute or something like that, and they came back and won. And so it's like this that they have this ability to scrape through. So I mean, those are really two I have right there. I mean, with it. I don't like traveling. I don't really particularly care traveling to Italy. I mean, it's just one of those things as a Liverpool supporter and of seeing every time that we've gone to Italy, it seems like it's been some kind of controversy or some kind of problems happen there. Same thing. It goes back to days even most English teams right there. Remember like the Leeds stabbing that happened many years ago. All those things that happened right there, and it seems like it's like controversy with Italian fans, and I just that's not something that I'm keen to right there. But yeah. So I'm not really that afraid of Real Madrid. I think that they're so right now at the moment with them, they are so disjointed. I'd rather go and get them early while they can't figure their shit out yet, and then that way we can go out there and go and take at least a point off them or a win. But I think with this whole format, I think you're going to see a lot of at the beginning stage, a lot of like draws. I really think that there's going to be a lot of there's not going to be a lot of risk taking right there in these matches because the people are going to be looking at how they're going to wind up being in that lineup of the 25. So, all the teams that are in there. So you got to go in there and have to play. You have to play your cards right. And if you go in there and go too wild and you get knocked out, I mean, you could lose 2 matches and you're automatically in that bottom pot right there. So you're out of Europe. I mean, so it's a money game now. So I mean, so you have to go in there and play your cards right. So I think that us on the teams at that top point right there, they're going to be more conservative. I think the teams toward the bottom part and the pot 3 and the pot 4 teams, those guys are going to be fucking gunning for it. And then because what do they got to lose? Because they're probably going to get kicked out. They're probably going to go anyway. But so yeah.
Before we go to Trevor, Brian, just for John's benefit, overall, without having seen it in action yet, but in how the picture and the map is laid out, what do you think of the format? Are you happy to give it a chance at least?
I mean, I'm going to give it a fair shake. Do I like it? No. I think you're breaking something that was actually worked, and I think I think that the way the group stages worked right there worked fine. The problem right there is as normal UEFA just tinkering and meddling and trying to find a way to get more fucking money out of everybody, and like they've been doing for years and years and years. And eventually, as I said earlier, right there, this is just appeasing for all the big clubs until the Super League happens, because I've been saying it's going to happen. I mean, it's the game is there's too much money involved right now, and there's too many of these too many people have got things vested in football that to let like little pots of money go there and say, okay, well here you get this for winning the UEFA, or you get this for winning this right there. They want their money, and their money right now is actually coming out of the fan base. When you have a Champions League final, when your fans can only sit 40% of the stands and stuff like that, and UEFA is able to come there and gift their fucking donors like all this money, like the grand seats and stuff like that. What's going to happen on there? I mean, eventually they're going to have to go answer their fan base why is this happening? Why is things like in Paris that when we came there went through the problems we went through right there and all that? Why is this happening? And why are we picking on the fans? Again, eventually this is going to be a Super League that's going to be with all the clubs, the major clubs joining, and it's not going to be without bounds. And so again, I'll give it a good shake, but I think it's temporary. It's a temporary appeasement.
Is it as temporary as Trevor's internet feed was tonight?
Hey, Hey, oh well, my bad juju from a couple months ago is spreading.
Yeah, there you go. It's coming back to us now. So in terms of just until we get Trevor back, when you say Super League, do you mean the clubs themselves coming up with their
Yep.
own thing, or UEFA
Yep.
coming up with a Super League?
Nope, the clubs themselves. I mean, we barely stopped it. The only thing that stopped it the last time right there was that it was not it was done in too much secrecy right there. Now I think that when they see what's going to happen with this, and they're going to see that of how this is not going to benefit the fan bases at all, then how UEFA is going to make this into another cash cow. I mean, between UEFA and FIFA, take your pick. Who's the one that basically goes and tries to milk as much money out of football as they can? Then the fan base is going to realize that, hey, that this right there for the greater good of the game is going to happen. I mean, I know it's a very controversial thing. Our supporters came there, went up in arms about it, and I think the same thing which causes the back off. But it's only the inevitable it's going to happen, and we see it happen in rugby with the Super League. I mean, so you're going to see the same exact thing that's going to happen with football.
Talking about controversy, there we go. Trevor's back.
It's there. It's not the plant's fault. It's the Coventry power grid.
I have to say though that ecological plugging your computer into your plant's system isn't working out too well for you, Trevor. You might have to go back to gasoline. So in terms of the Italian teams, that gives us a nice little segue, I think, because we will have somebody who knows those Italian teams inside out. We have signed today an actual player, a real life, proper non-humanoid, Android database player, and we also have a goalkeeper, but we're not going to see him till next year. Here's my question, Trevor. I want to be positive about things as always, but I'm going to be Mr. Cynical today. Signing a goalkeeper and loaning him back might seem like a smart move, but it indicates that either Becker is going next year for sure, or Kelleher. We couldn't find a club for Kelleher, and we don't want to, we don't want to lose a good solid number two. And Chiesa is coming. I didn't know this till today. He's coming off a 2 years ago ACL injury. I am not convinced by Italian players playing for Liverpool. I don't know a single one that has worked out, and I'm still burned by Aquilani and his glass ankles. Is this a case, Trevor, of what we talked about a couple of weeks ago, that it's the boys in the transfer committee, organization, mafia, whatever they're called this week, being too clever for their own good? And instead of, we got more money for Carvalho than we spent on Chiesa, apparently. I don't hold out much hope. I really want them to work out, but the past, as much as it doesn't always influence the future or indicate future trends, it's not looking good for an Italian player at Anfield, in my book. What do you think of that Chiesa transfer and the Mamardashvili one as well?
Okay, I'll start with Mamardashvili, because I think that is one that I think is a good signing. I think it's looking towards the future. It is something where he's going to stay at Valencia, where he's going to get plenty of work. They are going to play him every game, and Valencia's defense is garbage, so he will get plenty of work. But I think Chiesa, while I'm excited to him to potentially stay healthy and come in and break that mold, as John was saying, kind of be that streak breaker. He resembles to me where you got guys online that are like crypto influencers, and they're like, well, these past 7 ones I've completely whiffed on, and they've entirely tanked your thing. But this one, look at this one right here. Federico Chiesa, this guy on the Euros was an absolute stud. Don't look at the fact that his knees are made entirely of dental floss. Look at him. Look at this. For this price, you have to go all in. You have to be part of the Chiesa gang, and you need to just be all in, put every single ounce of faith and stock in it, and just send it to the moon. Well, I want there to be that bit of just mild cynicism where going, yeah, I know this, the reason that this guy that was valued at like 60 million 2 years ago, getting him for 10, seems like you're getting a clearance buy. It's not something where you have to kind of look at it with full skepticism, but you have to wonder why. And I think from Edwards' perspective, and he was there like, oh, this is a bargain, and this is what they're all about. They're all about buying low, selling high, yada yada yada, finding those steals. They're like the Gary Vaynerchuk of the footballing world. Like, oh man, look at I can buy these figurines at Dollar Tree, and then I can go sell them on eBay for 10 times as much. I'm so fantastic at business. But for this time, yeah, if Chiesa's knees go knocky again, and Mo decides to head off to Saudi Arabia, yeah, that's not great. But in the meantime, I'm going to be one that is looking at the positive points of Chiesa's introduction. He seems to be a guy that's generally enthused to be joining the club, unlike the last Aquilani and Arthur Mellos of the world, who are just like, yo, what's up? What's going on? Do we play football here? All right, cool. All right, I'm just going to go fuck off now. He seems generally enthused. And I want that to be to the forefront, despite my huge crypto rant before. He seems a guy that wants to be here. And despite all of the fears that we have about him, I want that to be something that we remember more than anything. So even if it kind of falls apart, at least it's a guy that seemingly gave a shit.
Brian, I mean, I want to make sure that anybody who's watching right now live or later on understands it's not Chiesa we have the problem with, so much as it is that method of doing business. Because while other clubs are paying top price for top players that we would be hoping to be rivaling for the top prize this season, we're basically doing the modern equivalent of Harry Redknapp. We're just wheeling and dealing. We're like Del Boy and Rodney from Only Fools and Horses for our British and Irish fans out there. We're Sanford and Son instead of being Fresh Prince of Bel-Air. I mean, like, it doesn't, to me, that doesn't instill confidence that good players are going out there and we're not willing to pay top whack for it. If we don't have the money, I'd rather they just came out and said we have to sell to buy. But if we do have the money and they're just not spending it because they think they're better than everybody else at figuring out value, the only people that are going to suffer are the players, the manager, and the fans, isn't it?
Yeah, I mean that's what you're with low risk, high reward. I mean that's just the way, and that's Edwards. That's Edwards' whole game. It's always been his game right there. I mean, both these signings are that way. They're both low risk, high reward. Because even if the thing that happens right there, if Marshavelli right there, if he I'm sorry, I just butchered his name, but
Mamadashvili.
But
he's from Georgia, but if you say it Italian like Chiesa, it makes him. Makes him seem more good.
But even if he never kicks a ball for us now at 30 mil, because what he did at the Euros right there, we're gonna go there at least go there break even on it. So I mean, so that's very low risk. I mean, Chiesa for 12 with add-ons 12.5 at the most when you add everything to it, £1 million. That's just so low risk. I mean, and I'm not against Chiesa's move because I think it's a bargain. I mean, I think that also in this right here, if you look at his stats from last year, his stats were not bad. I mean, yeah, he came there and he had basically a run of about 18 months where he didn't play because because of his ACL issue. But if you look at those other stats that he's gone from that point on right there, I mean, they haven't been really bad. He's very good at going at tracking back, which is what and picking the ball up from the deep and moving it, which is more or less how slot plays. So he's a very possession based player. Slot again right there. So the things check the boxes right there for him. I mean, and again, if he realizes his, it's in Discord, if he realizes what his role is going to be in this side right there, because we have definitely a lot of matches are going to come up on this right there. So if he realizes what his role is throughout there, and that we're going to rotate and keep players healthy, which is as you've seen right there, the controversy from the Trent thing to happen this weekend and Mo and all these guys right there. He's going to have He's going to have a part to play in this season. So I mean, so why not? I mean, why not if you're going to go through this and just do it? But again, as you were saying right there about spending big money right there, if we're not spending money on players right there to rejuvenate this squad, because I you know how I stand about the academy. I've complained about basically what we've done to the academy this off season, where we basically just butchered it and Klopp's kids just basically got pushed over the cliff for the most part. I mean, if you want to go on that analogy, but we don't have a middle group right there to establish anything anymore. So we have elderly guys, we have guys that are almost on the prime, and the guys right there who are in that 19 to 20 range. We didn't sold all them people, man. So I mean, hopefully we have a chance of being able to recoup it. I mean, I know a lot of people are going through and looking at Neoni right there, thinking that hey, we got us a gem in our hands, thinking these things right there. He's a 17-year-old kid. I mean, so we don't have that. We got rid of Clark, which is probably the next person through there. I mean, so in that realm there. I mean, so we got rid of Carvalho. I understand Carvalho right there because I would have probably got rid of Carvalho anyway. I don't think he really had that much of a future with his attitude. I mean, but again, we're setting ourselves up for that ultimate failure, kind of like where Trevor was going along right there. Mo leaves. We're left with this guy. And this guy right there, we haven't really known whether this guy is going to be able to take that place. So it's just the business doesn't look good at the moment right now, in my opinion. I mean, I'll have faith right there, but yeah, it just doesn't look very very bright right now to looking toward the future unless we actually make sound investments.
Trevor, let me ask you this question: is it possible that Edwards and Co. were looking from a distance before they came back and saw what we could say hasn't been an unqualified success with the money we spent on Darwin, and came in and said to FSG, look, bring us back in and we'll get a Darwin Núñez, but it'll cost you $20 million less, and we'll get the same output from him. Is it possible that literally that signing alone has put the club on tenterhooks in terms of outlay of money, which would appeal to them, I would imagine, if they could get the same output from Darwin Núñez that they're getting from Darwin Núñez on the field, but for a lot less money and wages, transfer money and wages. That would appeal to John Henry, and that would appeal to Michael Edwards. So are we seeing the fruits of Darwin Núñez's misses that we have talked about for weeks and weeks and weeks and weeks? Whereas had he been scoring all those goals, he would be worth 100 million now at this point, and we'd be in the driving seat. But it just strikes me that, number one, we need a 6 and we don't have a 6. Number 2, we need another left back. We don't have a left back, but we do have a nice, fancy named Italian player who we probably don't need in those positions, and we've got him for dirt cheap. And that just doesn't strike me as a front office, to use the American terms, who has a lot of ambition to actually win the trophies.
It's it seems kind of like a political thing. It seems like a misdirect in my eyes, where the whole Zubamendi thing went tits up pretty bad, where they had all these bids in place and they had all these conversations, and there was a release clause right there, and they just like, no, 51 million. What if we offered 50? And then just things kind of went sideways from there. And then, yeah, we loaned out and sold a bunch of youth. And we've had to sit here and kind of like, oh man, they got 25 for Carvalho? Oh man, that's so good. What? They got 25 for Sepp? Holy crap, that's amazing business. They got double digits for Bobby Clark? Oh my God, just everybody just do a dance. Everybody just get on your feet and applaud how good Michael Edwards is at doing math. There comes a point, and we'll go, and I'll go quickly to the Darwin argument. If Darwin was such a just an albatross, if he was something that would have been just a non-starter with and I disagree with that, but I appreciate your comment. But I think if Darwin was such an albatross and something that everybody in this new regime hated, which is why I'm kind of in the thing that Slot feels that he's a reclamation project, because look what Jimenez is getting bids from Premier League teams, and he's going to probably go for 2 or 3 times what Feyenoord paid for him, based on what Slot was able to do. If Nunez was such just human garbage in the eyes of this regime, they would have sold him to Arsenal 2 months ago, because Arsenal was sitting there. They were seagulls around the dumpster trying to get him for 35, 40 million. And it was something that was a non-starter. And that I think, yeah, and everybody will point to this past weekend when he came on, and what do you know? He was offsides by a lot again. That's something that will, I think, be either worked out with him or worked out as he goes out. I think there's a lot of things with this new group that I don't get yet, and the fan base, and I think even some of the team doesn't get yet, where I really just, I want there to be something where just there. I just feel so rambly with this, because there's no direction from what they're saying, so there's no direction to my statements. Where it's like, oh well, they've said they wanted to shore up here and do this. There is none of that. So now when it's just, oh, this falls through, but hey, we got the keeper for the future. Wait, does that mean you're going to sell Allison? No, we never said that. But ooh, look at this guy that was great in the Euros 6 years ago. But wait, but he's kind of banged up, and you don't really need that. But look at him, and he's so happy to be here. And it just feels like just a series of misdirects where it kind of just and I hate to invoke his name because he's a gigantic piece of shit, but it's the whole Family Guy, James Woods, ooh, a piece of candy type deal. I really just,
or Phoebe with the deck of cards. Look at
that's what I could have used, where I didn't have to invoke the name of a piece of human garbage. But here we are, hindsight 2020. Yeah,
Michael Edwards can get that down to 10-10. You give him enough time.
With 2 a 7 of clubs and an 8 of clubs and add-ons, and one Tootsie Roll.
Brian, before we move on to the game for the weekend, it looks like to me that a little bit like we're being fobbed off as a fan base because we were getting to the transfer deadline, window deadline, and no signings. And if we had gone to the end of the window with no signings, FSG would have been under a hell of a lot of pressure for not supporting the manager. And in terms of the low risk, high reward thing, do you think, if you're a cynical person like I try not to be, but sometimes I am, that these are just two signings which aren't going to cost the club an awful lot of money, and if they work out, they look like geniuses, but it keeps everybody off their backs by the time the transfer window closes because they can say, look, see, we got two players. We were helping the new manager. Didn't get the players he needed, but we got some anyway. Or is that just me being too cynical?
So currently our outs are more than our ins as far as what we spent. So that's why I was leaving on that right there. So I mean, we've sold more kids. All our kids we sold right there for two players. That's where we're at the moment. I mean, that's shockingly right there. I mean, going into this year, right, this off season, the things I wanted what there was the contract settled. I wanted a contract for Trent. I wanted at least either an answer from Mo. Hey, what do you want to do? Or is this up to you right there? Because I think that Mo still has the ability to play 2 more years in the in the upper level of football. So I think that, hey, do you want to go ahead and do another deal? We'll do a bumper on you and sell that. And also, I wanted Allison signed for another deal because I still think that Allison, because keepers can go for another 4 or 5 years easily. And I mean, at his age, I think we could Allison probably at his peak right there. I mean, yeah, he's had the couple injuries there, but I think that you could have Allison for another 3 seasons right there and still be in pretty decent form there. Instead, right there, we're still shuffling around right now. We haven't done anything, any contracts. I mean, I could give you Verge. Sure. I mean, if you were to let Verge go and maybe go next summer on a free, sure. Okay, I give you. But again, we haven't done contracts. We haven't go there and signed a left back, which I said that we had which we required. I mean, our left side defender to replace Verge and also one to replace Van Dyke. I mean, to replace Robertson. So you're missing that point there, and we're still in the same spot. I mean, just again, I'm at a loss right there. I think that we did. I don't think that we needed Chiesa. I see Chiesa right there being a player that we could use, but I don't think we needed him. We needed a holding midfielder. We supposedly went after a holding midfielder, got turned down. Instead, we said, "Well, hey, let's go stick Gravenberch right there. I think he can do okay. Let's."
I mean, it seems almost like they just said, well, we tried.
Yes, exactly.
Oh, well.
Yeah,
there was only one number 6 in the world. We tried to get him.
Correct. Yes, correct.
It seems ridiculous to me that if that was a target, they would have went to the next one on the list, which tells me there wasn't a list.
Yeah, but we have like this whole little list. Okay, you've heard Koopmanners, you've heard. I mean, go down the list of all the people that you heard right there, all the names that were. You heard Ederson, you heard Koopmanners, you heard. Okay, we're gonna go after. I mean, any grand name that you could think of in a forward in one of the other leagues right there with it. But again, we still haven't come there, and we still have it there. We have Macka back there playing in a position that's not his position to play. I mean, we have so we're in the same point. Oh, we're these past 2 matches. These 2 matches were fine right there. I mean, they were matches right there where we could actually tinker with it, slow the pace, see how everything's going to go, and use those guys right there with it as a transition, the transition into everything. But we're going to pay for this eventually right there. I mean, you're going to pay the piper. I mean, with that, without having the rotation. Endo isn't a player that we could use. We saw Endo come in at this last match. And I said this in a post match that we had there. Endo came in, we looked worse. I mean, we could not keep control of the ball, and we were getting. Brentford was going at us with him there. He's not a part of this. He doesn't fit the system. I mean, should have took that money from Monaco right there, and done something else with it. I mean, with it. So again, and another player right there. I hit it off on the post thing right there, which goes to there, which you guys are talking about. Nunez. Nunez does not fit this system. He does not fit this. Nunez is complete chaos and running at players. This is a possession-based team now. You can't use that type of player. I mean, with him right there, you have to have some player that actually has actually can think through a process and not. And if you can't stay offside, you can't think through a process. I mean, you have to go there and have somebody back up Jota. I mean, in here too. So we have like little missing pieces right there to have Slot to play the right game that he wants to play as possession based. If we have remnants of Klopp stuff and slots, and it's like putting square pegs into round holes to fit into where we need to go. And until we can give Slot his signings, I mean, we're not gonna compete with Arsenal and City. I mean, third, sure, I'll give you third because I think that we're better than probably than all the other teams, than a lot of the other 17 teams out there. But we're not better than Arsenal, and we're not better than City right there with our as far as talent wise and playing their systems.
Well, talking about slotting square pegs into round holes, we are playing the squariest of square pegs into the roundiest of round holes team this Sunday. Manchester United against Liverpool. It feels really early to be playing them in the season, and it's usually sometime around about Thanksgiving or Christmas or thereabouts where we meet them first in the league at least. But Trevor, we talked about this when I hosted the EPL panel show on Tuesday night. We spoke about the threat of Manchester United. Other clubs' fans don't see them as a threat anymore. It seems like the Emperor's clothes have fallen off, and that never existed in the first place. They are not a team that should scare us on paper. We've looked comfortable with them. Friendlies are friendlies in the preseason. They mean nothing, but still our kids made them look amateurish in that preseason friendly. Now with both teams at relative full strength and a few weeks into the season, a few weeks past the preseason training stage, we look quite comfortable and quite solid, if not as spectacular and as exciting as we were under Klopp. Whereas United just look like the biggest pile of junk, uncoached junk, as they did last season. Is this like the Everton game? Form goes out the window, as much form as you can have in game week 3. Or is this going to be a serious marker for both managers to say, here I am, and this is what I'm going to do this season?
It's absolutely one of those games. And as much as I want to stomp on United's grave, this is something that last year I wanted more than anything, and I've talked about it on the show a bunch of times, finally flushing the unflushable turd that was Everton was one of my huge goals, and they ended up putting an upper decker on our Premier League title chase. And United did the same, both in the cup and in the league. They made sure that there was no joy after the Moose Cup for Liverpool last year. So it is something, whereas there's just a bunch of chaos. They just pretty much, I guess, like threw Scott McTominay in a burlap sack and sent him to Italy. There doesn't seem to be any rhyme or reason to their signings. But going to Old Trafford is never a fun task, even if it is against a wounded animal. I really want to go into this game with the utmost confidence, but it is something where I have to go with just that little bit of trepidation because there's always that rivalry, and there's always that instance where they go and score in like the first 12 minutes and then just completely shut things down, and everything is just a mess from there, and the game just gets out of our hands. And I agree with everything that Brian said before, but the only thing I disagree with is in terms of Darwin Nunez's role. We haven't had to chase a game yet under Arne Slot. And if you're going to have a guy inject some chaos, and I was meant to be the Joker, but I ended up being more Randy Savage, but whatever. It's something where if we're chasing a game and you just need to throw Darwin out there and get a weird penalty or a weird red card just because center backs who have played 70 minutes against Diego Jota are absolutely gassed, then that's valuable. Yeah, it sucks that he has the price tag attached to him, but that's valuable in its own right. In the end, I really just want to see us take this United game seriously. I don't want to be something where like, oh, they stink. We faced Brentford and Ipswich, which were wins, so to speak, and this is going to be more of the same. The rivalry games, you have to address them appropriately. And everything I've seen from Arne Slot and the way he talks about the culture around the club and the culture around these type of games means that I don't think he's going to take it lightly. I just hope the players follow in suit with him.
Brian, before we go to you for your thoughts on the game this weekend and how it might shake out, just an encouragement to everybody to join our Discord and like and subscribe on our YouTube and our Facebook and our Instagram and our X, formerly known as Twitter, for the full engagement. And especially if you're on the Discord and you like what you say, you may end up getting invited on one of these shows where you get all your questions answered, but it's not a conversation, it's a podcast. Just got to get that public message out there. And now we do want to answer as many questions as possible, and we have toyed with the idea of having a Q&A where you guys just ask us the questions and we answer them in live time. But we have an agenda for every show, and we're going to follow it come hell or high water. Usually hell for the Thursday crew because our computers.
Yeah, I was going to say usually high water for me.
It's usually high water, yeah, because we're in New England.
The other day.
But Brian, so yeah, Steve, we appreciate the comments, but we can't answer every single one, otherwise the show will be 5 hours long, and I have to get up early in the morning. And so does Brian, and so does Trevor. But Brian, I don't have any trepidation in quality for this game, but I just have trepidation for attitude, especially after the FA Cup game last year, where really we should have won it and we didn't. Yeah. And we were not humiliated, but certainly I think embarrassed with the domination we had in that game to have lost it in such a fashion. Is it early enough in the season where our preparation should trump their preparation, or does that not even matter, even in the third game when it comes up to United?
So last year, the big difference right there is, again, we're playing this, that we were just constantly go there driving in this match right there. It's gonna be different right there. If you can see how Slot these past, as I said, we're heavy. We was heavy metal. We're yacht rock now. So I mean, so we're just gonna go back and just pass the ball and go there and just find those openings and all that. United have a lot of openings left in that squad. I mean, honestly, you come there and saw last week with against Bournemouth right there. I mean, the space that they left over and that goal winning for that winning goal. We can easily interact that way, interact with them and take them on. They bought DeLitt right there to go there manage that process in the aerial, with the aerial challenges. It didn't work. I don't think Ugarte, way of saying right there, might not even be able to be registered, but still, I think that they're losing that by getting rid of Batamane. They're using a person right there who was their goal poacher that they used, even though he was a holding midfielder, but he was still their goal poacher. The way they lined up last week with a false nine, it didn't work. I mean, there's so many things up there that like Ten Hag is like this basically tinkering and tinkering with the side, putting this player here, this player here. How's he going to work? I mean, you can tell that the downfall of this side right there is by looking at what Rashford's form is. I mean, if you look at what happened to Rashford, Rashford was a world beater many years ago, and what happened? I mean, it's gone. I mean, he's a shadow of his former self. I mean, yeah, he'll get that one goal on you every once in a while right there, but he's not that Rashford we saw as a 19-year-old that came out there. We're like, oh shit, this guy's going to go out there and going to do something for them. He's not that player. I'm not worried about United anymore. I mean, I think that the Ferguson days are gone, and way behind right there. And I think they're just like a shadow of their former self. So they're as broken down as Old Trafford is right there. I mean, kicked up concrete and and water streaming down the stands. That's United right at the moment, and I think that we will be okay. I think we'll be okay. I think that we have enough behind us right there to get past them.
Big hello to Philip there, one of our regulars, asking about whether we'll get number 6 by the end of the transfer deadline. Trevor, I think it's quite possible that if we don't, the Man United game may be the game where we say we should have got number 6 in the transfer window, shouldn't we? But going on what Brian said is, it seems to me like Ten Hag takes the Subbuteo players out, puts the green felt pitch out in front of him on his kitchen table, and then just literally randomly throws them and goes, that's the formation this week, lads. 1, 2, 3, 2, 1.5. No goalkeeper, and let's make something of it. Because I've never seen a team, even at youth levels as a player, and when I coached for those years that I coached, never seen a team so dysfunctional and disorganized and without a plan. We look like we have a plan. There's still some rough edges to it, but defensively there's a different plan to under Klopp, and offensively there's a different plan under Klopp. We've spoken about how Slot looks like he knows how to get through to the players really quickly. We saw that during the preseason. If you're, and I hate to say this, but if you're a United fan and you lose to this Liverpool team handily on Sunday, are you ready to get that pitchfork and go marching down with your green and yellow top to get rid of Ten Hag and the board possibly? Because a manager to come in after a legend so rapidly and get his ideas across so rapidly, well, your manager is in his second and a half year of not having a clue what to do. That is a really poor shown for Manchester United, isn't it?
Yeah, I think the whole Ten Hag tenure there has been one where there's just constantly been waiting for that bridge to collapse. He's a guy that just every time it's like, oh, he won this, he did this, and he did this, but there just doesn't seem to be any roster cohesion. The signings, it's like, oh, great, you got another Ajax guy. That's great. That's beautiful. But in the end, that I just don't see what their end game is. That they were trying to push him out the door at the end of last year and then realized that they couldn't. So they're like, hey, you want to come back? It was like a fast food restaurant that had like a staff walkout, and then they're just like, nobody else wants to work here. Will you guys come back, please? And Ten Hag is just flipping burgers, and he just has no care in the world.
The flipping burgers in a disorganized fashion. Let's put it right. They're not in straight lines and rows and columns. But Brian,
I was just doing the motion. Where they ended up, that's
a fair point. That is a fair point. Brian, before we finish up, do you think that our firepower will overpower their weak defense? And do you think our new defensive solidity will prevent what happened in the FA Cup from happening again?
Absolutely. I really do. I don't think this season right there, if anybody's looking for some super high score, don't look at this team right there. You can see right there by at the end right there how discouraged Harvey looked when he was told to kill off the match for the most part. That's what we're going to be doing. We're just going to go 2-3-0, things like that. Just make our way through there, get out, get in, get out, and stuff like that. And we're going to see that same type of situation here on Sunday. I mean, I think that. Again, we're not going to go drive at them. We're not going to go shoot for that killer pass, that killer thing right there. We're just going to kill them. This is Dutch football now. It's total control football. We're going to kill them with possession. We're going to kill them with passing. We're going to go and actually look for openings, and we're going to wait for their mistakes. Because again, their players right there are very susceptible to making mistakes, as we saw last week and as we saw the week before. I mean, with them, I mean they open up to that. I mean, you have Maguire right there, who's a walking mistake. I mean, so with them, and again, you're relying on a kid right there with Mainu. I love Mainu. I think Mainu is probably one of the most biggest talents that you have right now currently in football. But that kid's going to get driven into the ground by being with that pack that he's in right now. I mean, that there's not a good side. I mean, the talent's there, but they're just so, like you said right there, they're so disorganized and so not put together correctly. And and they can't, and United can't afford to get another manager because there's none out there that want to go there. I mean, it's just a big walking disaster that club is right there. And I could be happier to see it. And so, but yeah, I think that we definitely have enough to go there to get past it. But don't expect us to go in a 7-2 or 7-1 or any of that kind of stuff like that, because that shit ain't happening right there. We're basically going to go there, go in, kill the game, shut down shop, and walk away and say, hey, time to go back, go back west and sit back and chill. Go on international break, reset, see where we're at, get Nunez to go there, work on some offside training, and then go back at it again.
So what's your pin on the wall score prediction?
2-0. I think we're going to go another 2-0. I think we're pretty safe with that right now.
Trevor, would you agree with that one?
Yeah, absolutely. We're turning it into the new Timuchin special. The 2-0 is going to be the 3-1 for this season.
Yeah, I think I would have to agree. We look like a good, solid, 2-0 team, almost like a Rafa type team. But we know how many goals we're going to get, and we're going to shut it down. So 2-0 for me as well, plus a Nunez hat trick. Just because.
Is that a hat trick of offsides?
Hat trick of offside. Hat trick of onsides. That would be more. That would be more unusual.
No, he's going to get a hat trick, but the third one is going to get ruled off for offsides 9 minutes after it happens in a VAR fiasco. So it's going to be official in the books for 9 minutes, and then it's going to be chalked off, and he's not going to care.
Hey, this is an Anthony Taylor match, so anything could happen.
Anything could happen indeed. So with that said, thank you for joining us. I think the morning coffee is tomorrow morning, but we definitely will have a post and a pre and a post match for the game on Sunday. It's 11 a.m. Eastern time, so probably around 10:30 Eastern, whatever the time zones those are. Alan says 2-1 for the game. I hope they don't score against us. I think I'll take a 1-0 even if we keep the clean sheet, because that's more damaging to them if they can't score against us than anything, I think. But for everybody else going forward, make sure you are following us on YouTube. Make sure you're looking after us on Facebook and Instagram and on X, formerly known as Twitter, and join us on our Patreon for the extra goodies. And make sure you're smashing that like button or gently tapping it if you have a sensitive keyboard. Nick says a hat trick, one with bicycle kick, one with back heel, and one with a header, but all offside, so they probably won't. It just remains to say thank you for joining us. Thank you for the comments, even if they don't all get answered. And then we will see everybody next Thursday for us, guys. and then Sunday for the pre and post match. There's no EPL fantasy show tonight because everybody's apparently out to Chicago and we weren't invited, but that's probably because we don't answer enough comments. Peace out, everybody. Have a good weekend. Here's the 70s porn.